Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between MTW and Demuslim versus DuckloadRa here on Scrap Station. DuckloadRa, also known as WhiteRa, I believe DuckloadRa changed his name for a sponsor. That's what everyone's been telling me, and that's what I've read on the forum, so seems pretty accurate. And so hopefully I won't get confused and start calling him WhiteRa, as I want to honor his name change as DuckloadRa. Demuslim spawning over here as the blue Terran player, as a light blue Terran player. Meanwhile, we have DuckloadRa spawning over here as a red Protoss player on Scrap Station. Now, Scrap Station only has 2 spawning locations, so it'll be pretty interesting to see how these players try to do any sort of movement. And here, as the walking distances between these 2 locations is rather long, being forced to run all the way down to past the center of the map, activate a Zelnaga watchtower, and then run all the way back up. I don't quite know how far it is in terms of radius and movement. I'm sure I could time it, but then that'd just be really, really nerdy anyways. Back over here, this probe going to be able to do some early scouting and make sure that it's not going to be any sort of proxy Reaper play, as Demuslim now finally throwing down this Rax over here. So we see that this SCV now going to be trained up, and a standard opening so far. So in comes this probe. Probe now fighting against this SCV. DuckloadRa, however, will be able to pull away with that probe and let those shields recharge very, very quickly. So one of the benefits of the Protoss shields is how quickly they recharge. One of the things you may want to try to do as a Terran player is try to intercept it and deal at least a little bit of damage. Now you're going to see that this SCV going to be able to take 20 damage and now pull away, and this probe has already dealt 40 points of damage across 2 SCVs as a new SCV comes off the mineral line and tries to start dealing damage towards this probe. Probe, however, gonna grab some minerals of his own. No, gonna go after this SCV. However, that SCV now down to 20 hit points, and now we should see a Marine being trained up in just a moment. And what's with this refinery? That refinery looks a little bit funky there. Looks like it's like speckled. Back over here, we now see this probe just continuing to walk around, as we now see also another supply depot thrown down. So that does indicate to me that we should be seeing some sort of Marauder play, as that probe just currently sitting over there, sitting at 19/26 food. We do see a Zealot now being trained. So a Zealot being trained before a Cybernetics core, which is a little bit unorthodox. Oh, sorry, there's that Cybernetics core. I thought it was in a simulator for just a moment. So one Marine able to shoo away this one probe. Probe now will be able to retreat and have full hit points, as now Demuslim doing a gas denial of his own, throwing down a refinery. So this refinery will have about 300 to 400 points, as a Zealot now making its way towards it. Will it go after the SCV? No. Yes, it is going after the SCV, and this Demuslim is going to try to continue to repair this and build this refinery, currently chrono boosting this warp gate research, as well as that refinery now down to 145 hit points, most likely will be cancelled. Back over here, we do see a bunker on this front door, as another barracks being thrown down. So Demuslim going for a reactor first, which is a little bit unorthodox, and especially since I didn't see any sort of Stargate just quite yet, but he might have suspected that DuckloadRa was going to try to do some sort of Void Ray play, which would make Marines a very, very strong counter against them. Back over here, we do see another refinery coming in as well. So Demuslim going for a 2 racks now into a factory build. So it's going to be 2 racks with 1 factory, Marines, Marauders, and perhaps some siege tanks. Back over here, you now see DuckloadRa getting an additional gateway and a robotics facility. So in the base of DuckloadRa, we see 3 gateways and now a robotics facility for perhaps an Immortal, Zealot, and Stalker push. Stalker is now trying to move in, 1 Stalker trying to move in into the base of Demuslim, but Demuslim, with that well-positioned bunker, that Stalker, if it tries to do any sort of walk-by, will not be able to, as that range of 6 on these Marines from inside that bunker, able to take it down. We now see currently researching the stim pack research, so those Marines will be able to mine much more quickly. Back over here, a simulator. Does that assimilator look funky to you? No, only the refineries are messed up this time. We now also see a starport, so Demuslim may be opening into some sort of mass Marine stim pack drop build, which may catch DuckloadRa severely off guard. DuckloadRa does not know about this factory and this starport in the back of the base. However, I do not see a reactor being thrown down, so it will only be 1 medevac if it is indeed a drop. Now Marines moving out does see this pylon. This pylon will quickly get shot down, most likely will get cancelled. There it goes, cancelled, so there will be no proxy play, as the robotics facility sitting over here, army-wise, 625 versus 600. unit-wise, we have a phase prism. So a phase prism being doing a warping over here, and now we'll be able to drop off 4 zealots as well, and that's gonna some stalkers and some zealots as well, and this is gonna be a very, very bad sign. Marines now trying to come back over here, no medevac. And this is going to be a very, very bad day indeed. Taking down that phase prism, Marines and Marauders trying to fight back against this army of Zealots and Marauders over here. Nothing in that bunker, however. SCVs now coming off the mineral line. Marines trying to fight as well, using that wall of SCVs. However, the Zealots dealing significant damage toward the economy of Demuslim. But now Demuslim will be able to hold off this initial rush. However, 16 Harvesters compared to 26. And that is a bad sign, as now Stalkers just walking in as there's a pylon right outside. So those Stalkers with that 2.9 movement speed, doing that attack move, being able to pull back, using that additional range. And now we see a pylon also being warped in the base itself. So that's going to be a very, very, very bad sign, as more Zealots are now going to be warped in. And that may just be GG. Zealots now going to go ahead and engage. And now that bunker is just out of position. More Marauders coming in. No medevac. One medevac now being trained up as well. And now this one Zealot going to go over here, engage. And wow, we have a lot of dead SCV, just shrapnel all in this mineral line, and I think the Muslim will be forced to say GG. Really, really aggressive play. All this time I thought that the Muslim was going to be doing some sort of drop play. However, the robotics facility with a phase prism first instead of that observer, and just completely tearing apart and catching the Muslim off guard. And really unconventional play coming in from DuckloadRa, but really brilliant play as well. Currently, now we see DuckloadRa just sitting on a very, very strong economy. Didn't even get that second gas until just right now. These Marines and Marauders trying to fight back, able to take down this. And really, White can just slowly take his time, going to load up another group of units. We see a Warp Gate over here and more units being another pylon over here. But the economic advantage, still a lot for DuckloadRa. Back over here, SCVs continuing to be trained, as now we see a 14 Harvester versus a 27. However, the main real difference is the amount of gas. Only 96 gas versus 224. However, Warp Prism quickly picking up those units. Oh, getting shot out of the sky. So the Muslim getting a lot of damage dealt there, may be able to turn this back around. 3175 loss for DuckloadRa. So DuckloadRa taking significant losses as well. We now see an observer being trained as more units being warped out. We do see a pylon now being warped in over here, so it may just turn into a standard 4-gate push now. We do see 3 medevacs, however, so the Muslim moving out with these medevacs will be able to deal a lot of damage. Are the Stalkers going to be able to shoot down any of these units? As quickly being dropped down, some of those medevacs already taken down as more Marines and Marauders being dropped into play. However, these Marines and Marauders are stimmed and able to deal a lot of damage. Probes trying to come around, trying to get a quick surround, will not be able to, as these Marines and Marauders just taking down and dealing a lot of damage towards these units here. 2 medevacs able to escape there. And nicely done. So a quick turnaround in that fight. We now see 17 Harvesters for the Muslim versus DuckloadRa's 24 Harvesters. And now there's one probe wandering around on the inside here. We see one observer over here, army-wise, 1150 for the Muslim versus DuckloadRa's 625. As these Marines and Marauders going in for another drop, will be able to deal a lot of damage. There is one force field catching these units a little bit out of position. However, the army is just way too small in this particular instance. And now these medevacs, although they are low on hit points, will be able to outmaneuver some of these Stalkers over here. So these Stalkers trying to get underneath those medevacs will not be able to, and now pulling back away. So these medevacs now dropping onto that low ground, going to be able to heal up these units and then perhaps try to reinitiate another drop. Taking a look at the Harvester count, 22 versus 19, and I may have called this game too early, as both sides are still very in this game. We see another medevac being trained up, not quite sure why there is a tech lab on this starport, as we haven't seen any sort of Raven or Banshees coming out. And once again, Marines and Marauders trying to deal some damage, able to deal a lot of damage towards these Zealots. Zealot now trying to give chase. Down goes one Stalker there. Only one medevac left. So the key unit in this whole entire MM army, this medevac only down to 3 hit points. However, another medevac, so a 2-part drop coming in. So a drop from the north and from the south. The Muslim just simply tearing apart all these probes. And DuckloadRa saying GG. So brilliantly played and brilliantly done by the Muslim. The Muslim taking a very, very heavy aggression drop with that phase prism and those Zealots early in the game. However, getting torn apart by another medevac marine drop of his own, and that was just absolutely critical. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Demuslim and DuckloadRa here on Scrap Station.